Welcome all to the launch event of our United Nations Office of Counter-Terrorism Connect and Learn platform. What is the Connect and Learn platform? Well, it is a very innovative and widely accessible online tool which will help us enhance the capacity building efforts of the office, but also will support us in working very closely with member states and all of sectors of society, public sector, private sector, civil society, and academia. We are very pleased today to be joined by a panel of experts that represent a whole of society approach and who will contribute highly to this innovative and very accessible tool. The expertise and the experiences that will be shared will certainly help us enrich even the content of our platform. I would like particularly also to express our sincere gratitude and appreciation to the Republic of Korea for supporting very generously the development of the Connect and Learn platform. And of course, we are honored to be joined today by the Excellency Ambassador. I would like now, without any further ado, to turn the screen to Ambassador Vladimir Ivanovich Voronkov, our Under-Secretary General of the United Nations Office of Counter-Terrorism, who will deliver his opening remarks. Good morning, Under-Secretary General, and the screen is all yours. Thank you.
Mauro, thank you very much. Thank you, dear colleagues, for joining us today. I think it's a very important day for the office. We are starting a new page in the development of our activities. So I think it's really a very important day. Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, it's my great pleasure and honor to welcome you to the launch of the UNOCT Connect and Learn platform. This global platform is built to be innovative and inclusive. It will serve as an advanced learning tool for a global community of practitioners working on counter-terrorism and preventing and countering violent extremism conducive to terrorism. As we all know, despite progress in the fight against terrorism over the past 20 years, the threat still spread and evolved to become more complex and volatile. This situation has been further exacerbated by the COVID-19 pandemic, which has caused massive economic losses and unprecedented unemployment rates. The pandemic has isolated people, created a fertile ground for disinformation and terrorist recruitment, as people have spent more time online. Against this backdrop, the unfolding global security concerns present new counter-terrorism challenges for which international cooperation is now more crucial than ever. We must join our forces at local, national, regional, and international levels and use creative means to redouble our efforts for stronger and more resilient society. Therefore, it's essential for the United Nations Office of Counter-Terrorism to expand delivery for capacity building by using innovative and unconventional means to reach as many beneficiaries as possible. We are doing so through our new Connect and Learn platform. The platform will yield two outcomes. First, through eLearning, it will strengthen and reinforce in-person counter-terrorism capacity building by providing stakeholders with access to learning modules, tools, and training courses. These modules are globally accessible and include both instructor-led and self-paced courses. They will serve as multipliers for expanding the outreach of the United Nations Office of Counter-Terrorism while complementing its in-person programmatic activities. Second, the novel approach of the Connect and Learn platform lies in its communities of practice forum that will allow approved users to connect and share knowledge, good practices, and lessons learned. Discussion groups, activity streams, and collaborative work will be facilitated through the forum, as well as the sharing of access to resource libraries. This will further encourage the exchange of information and build strong partnership to produce innovative responses to the challenges at hand. These features will allow experts and stakeholders, including counter-terrorism experts from member states, the private sector, civil society, and academia from around the world to use the platform to connect and collaborate in the fight against terrorism and violent extremism. The United Nations Office of Counter-Terrorism remains committed to expanding innovative course offerings and increasing content accessibility through the platform. Contributions to the platform will fund the creation of new workshops, interactive courses, and additional features offered through extension and plugs in. It will also enable the platform to accommodate more advanced counter-terrorist trainings, develop course translations to further widen their reach. Excellencies, I would like to take this opportunity to extend my sincere gratitude to the Republic of Korea for its support and dedication to the creation and launch of UNOCT's Connect and Learn platform. My words of gratitude to Ambassador Cho for his personal engagement in implementation of the idea of the platform. Thank you very much, Ambassador. I would also like to offer sincere thanks to all our donors, especially the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, the State of Qatar, the European Union, the United States of America, the Netherlands, and Japan. The combined contributions of our donors allow the United Nations Office of Counter-Terrorism to continue its crucial work in our joint fight against terrorism. To conclude, I am extremely grateful to the UNOCT team, which made today's launching event happen. We have started a new page in the development of our office. Sincere congratulations, and thank you for your attention.
Thank you very, very much, Under-Secretary General, for introducing the great potential and the features of the Connect and Learn platform to the very numerous participants who are joining us either through WebEx today or the several hundreds who are following us on stream on UNTV. And thanks particularly Under-Secretary General for recognizing the role and the importance of our donors. And in fact, it is with great pleasure that I would like to introduce His Excellency Ambassador Ms. Yoon Cho, Permanent Representative to the Republic of Korea to the United Nations in New York, for some welcoming remarks. And thanks once more on behalf of the World Office for the generous support of the Republic of Korea for the development of the tool, as well as our thanks to all the donors who have permitted with their strong support to our programs the development of the content of the platform, and especially the modules, the training modules that are populating, and that will be a complete new way of increasing our capacity of supporting member states in their efforts to counter terrorism. Excellency Ambassador Cho, it's our greatest pleasure to have you with us, and I turn the screen to you. Thank you once more.
Thank you, Mauro. On behalf of the Korean government, I would like to congratulate you all for the launch of UNOCT Connect and Learn platform. I also would like to welcome each and every one of you to this very significant event today. The Republic of Korea attaches great importance to education, information sharing, and capacity building. We believe that an e-platform in the field of counterterrorism will play a significant role in strengthening these areas. Online learning modules can help capacity building projects reach remote communities across the globe, and they will be even more meaningful during the pandemic period where physical contact is limited. Moreover, as one of its objectives, the UNOCT Connect and Learn platform will host thematic communities of practice functioning as hubs for various stakeholders in the CT area, which will contribute to strengthening a whole of society approach. I hope future networks built on this platform can create synergy in countering terrorism and preventing violent extremism. The Republic of Korea takes a great interest in innovation using new technology such as this platform. It is very proud to have been the primary donor country that made the launch of today's Connect and Learn platforms possible. We expect the platform will be able to allow UNOCT to evolve and develop and further optimize the delivery of its increasingly important work. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's really with our deepest gratitude, Your Excellency, Mr. Ambassador Cho, for that we really hear your words, and we are determined in making this milestone event of today a turning point of increasing capacity of our office to support worldwide, even in remote communities, as you have mentioned, the efforts of governments, but all of society approaches and institutions in their fight against terrorism and in their efforts to prevent violent extremism. But let us then now go deep into the features of this platform that, as we have mentioned, is not simply a training tool, but it's mostly an incredible partnership tool that will allow not only our office, but all member states and representatives of civil society to interact and work together. It is therefore my pleasure to introduce Ms. Eileen Techmeister, who is our program support officer for the platform, who will show you a video demonstration of the main feature of the Connect and Learn platform. Thank you, Eileen, and I turn to you now.
Thank you, Mr. Miedico. It's my pleasure to introduce a video demonstration of the UNOCT Connect and Learn platform. The video will not only touch upon the guiding objectives of the platform, but will also provide a brief overview of the platform's functionality. So let's watch the demonstration. Terrorism poses a serious threat to international peace and security and requires a collective and concerted multilateral response. Recognizing the central role of digital technologies in connecting communities, advancing capacities, and enabling mobilization and change, the United Nations Office of Counter-Terrorism now offers the next generation solution through a newly developed Connect and Learn platform. The platform allows policymakers and practitioners to connect and learn to build up capacities to address the scourge of terrorism and violent extremism conducive to terrorism. Connect to online communities of practice and learn online in program-oriented courses, all in a single web-based platform available from a desktop, laptop, or a smartphone, anywhere at any time. Connect and Learn brings together policymakers and practitioners from across member states, international and regional organizations, the private sector, civil society, and academia through interactive forums, live events, discussion boards, rosters of experts, with timely resources and opportunities to engage. The platform also provides access to a growing body of both instructor-led and self-paced online courses developed by subject matter experts across thematic areas such as preventing and countering violent extremism conducive to terrorism, countering terrorist travel, and protecting vulnerable targets. Shall we take a peek behind the scenes? Have a look at some communities and courses? The Communities of Practice forums will facilitate information and knowledge sharing, the exchange of good practices and lessons learned, and expand the number and range of stakeholders that engage with each other and UNOCT experts and their partners to discuss challenges and solutions, network, and even conduct joint initiatives. These forums will publicize upcoming events and offer collaborative knowledge hubs. The learning site of Connect and Learn will serve to consolidate UNOCT's expertise, advocacy, and programmatic activities into one accessible e-learning system. Online courses can both complement and provide alternatives for in-person training, strengthening the scope and depth of delivery of UNOCT's work. The site will also enable online engagement and training when in-person attendance is challenging for some beneficiaries. The homepage of Connect and Learn will make it easy for users to consult individual capacity building programs and to choose from a list of available online courses. The Community of Practice area will allow users to connect, discuss, and share ideas in a social media-like setting. Members of a forum will be able to scroll through their timelines to keep abreast with developments in their thematic areas of interest and learn about, register for, and participate in online activities organized by UNOCT and its partners. Users will have access to self-paced or instructor-led courses with a variety of features, including a calendar, course pages, webinar links, resources, videos, and discussion boards. Customizable user dashboards will allow participants to choose notification preferences, edit their profiles, check assessments, and follow up on messages. They will also be able to print certificates for successfully completed courses. UNOCT Connect and Learn platform, connecting and learning from anywhere at any time for a future without terrorism.
Thank you very much, Eileen, for introducing the video that clearly gives a demonstration of the power of this tool. As we have mentioned, we are not intending to replace in-person training through this platform, but rather move from single training sessions into very complex packages of consolidated capacity building that will feature long-term extended training and certified accredited training for thousands of officers and other individuals around the world. I would like also now to remind that we will have a Q&A session by the end of this event after the second session. And I can invite the audience to submit any question you may have through the chat function, and then we will try to address these questions a bit later today when we have the Q&A sessions. Let me also express our deepest gratitude to the United Nations Information Computing Center in Geneva, who worked really around the clock with our UNOCT team to make the development of the platform possible. You have done an amazing job. Thank you once and really again for all of your amazing work. We want now to give a direct presentation of how the Connect and Learn platform can have an impact. And we have put together some case studies that would showcase better how the platform is and can work in the future. These are three dear colleagues who are managing three of our UNOCT global programs. And I would like to start with Ms. Christine Bradley, who is the head of our Counter-Terrorism travel program, a flagship program, and she will introduce how the platform is helping our comprehensive packages of assistance on this role. Thank you, Christine. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Mauro. Ladies and gentlemen, esteemed colleagues, I'm very grateful for this opportunity to support the launching of the UNOCT Connect and Learn platform and to provide an overview of the e-learning modules of the UN Countering Terrorist Travel Program. By way of introduction, the UN Countering Terrorist Travel Program is a flagship initiative led by the UN Office of Counter-Terrorism, and it assists member states in building their detection capabilities to counter terrorist offenses and other serious crimes using passenger data, both advanced passenger information, or API, and passenger name records, or PNR, in accordance with Security Council Resolutions 2178, 2396, 2482, as well as international standards and recommended practices, and of course, human rights principles. The program is led by UNOCT in an all-of-UN partnership, together in close cooperation with the Counter-Terrorism Executive Directorate, UN Office on Drugs and Crime, the International Civil Aviation Organization, the United Nations Office of Information and Communication Technology, and Interpol. And since the program's launching just over 2 years ago, we now have 48 member states who have joined and are benefiting from the tailored assistance, including on legal, operational, transport industry engagement, and technical areas. So across all of these areas of work, the CT Travel Program's training strategy is a key component in the comprehensive support that is being provided to beneficiary member states to assist in the implementation of an API and PNR system. And the program has developed and delivered a suite of learning tools that include e-learning modules. And to showcase some of these modules and to give you an example of them, I'll now ask the technicians to play a short video that will provide the overview of the e-learning tools that are available on the UNOCT Connect and Learn platform. Thank you very much.
Welcome to the United Nations Countering Terrorist Travel Program, a flagship global initiative of the UN Office of Counter-Terrorism. The program assists member states in building their capabilities to detect and counter the movement of terrorists and serious criminals using travel information. The CT travel training is designed to give member states introductory and foundational theoretical knowledge. It is supported with the engaging content and practical exercises that promote skills development, participation, and exchange of information. CT travel currently engages member states through 2 training courses: self-paced introductory e-learning modules, and a 5-day blended training course. The self-paced introductory e-learning comprises 4 modules. What is API data? What is PNR data? Threat environment and introduction to the international legal framework concerning API and PNR data. Passenger information unit and passenger data single window. Hit and match in a PIU and open source intelligence. It is to be hosted on the learning management system. It has been designed for the public to promote awareness raising and learning about API and PNR and relies on the use of engaging and interactive content. Participants can also benefit from supporting reference material. The 5-day blended training course has 7 modules that comprehensively outline the entire journey of the CT travel program that beneficiary member states will take after joining the program. The 7 modules include threat information, CT travel program, international legal and regulatory framework related to API and PNR data, operationalization of a passenger information unit, state and industry engagement, technological support and the Go Travel software, collecting and processing maritime traveler information. The program is designed for nominated officials from member states and aims at generating foundational theoretical knowledge. It makes use of a mix of live sessions and pre-recorded lectures, including practical exercises that promote exchange of information. The program relies on technical experts from different parts of the world and provides reference material with each course for the participants to take home. CT Travel has, so far, provided training to 5 beneficiary member states and for 2 regional organizations.
Thank you very much, Christine, for this direct demonstration of impact. We have more than, as you mentioned, 11 modules, and they are already benefiting 5 countries plus 2 organizations out of the 48 beneficiaries of the CT travel program. And that is a number that will certainly increase as we go more and more with these comprehensive packages of training. Thank you very much, Christine. Let me now turn the floor to another dear colleague, Ms. Sian Hutchinson, who is the head of our Global Prevention and Countering Violent Extremism program at UNOCT, which offer integrated capacity building packages, institutional development, and of course, technical assistance to member states, but also to civil society. Sian, thank you, and the screen is yours.
Thank you so much. Excellencies, distinguished guests, colleagues, and viewers. My name is Sian Hutchinson, and I'm the head of the Global Program on Preventing and Countering Violent Extremism. Our program uses evidence-informed, tailored, and sustainable capacity-building approaches with governments, civil society, media, victims of terrorism, and other beneficiaries, delivering across 9 mutually reinforcing thematic portfolios, including PCVE strategic communications, youth empowerment and engagement, policy assistance, education, mental health, gender, human rights, and new frontier issues, which seek to explore and address emerging trends in extremism, such as the intersection with climate change and prevention on online gaming networks. Our program focuses on supporting partners to design, build, deliver, and measure whole of society interventions to address the conditions conducive to the spread of terrorism, in line with Pillar 1 of the Global Counter-Terrorism Strategy. We bring together global experts on PCVE to co-design capacity building with beneficiaries and deliver tailored and locally relevant training and mentoring through hybrid learning approaches. So for example, we work with young religious leaders and media makers to build, deliver, and measure impactful counter-narrative campaigns. We coach and mentor young leaders to have difficult, brave space conversations about violent extremism. And we support the design and implementation of whole of government policy interventions in PCVE that mainstream human rights and gender. As a headquarters-based global program delivering at the grassroots field level, the COVID-19 pandemic was an immediate challenge for us. So without international travel and the ability to meet in person, we had to really look at how we iterate to support our beneficiaries in a way that still delivered value and impact. So we piloted a number of quite imperfect technical solutions for a program delivery. And what we found during this time is that shifting our modality challenged us in some ways, but in others offered new and exciting opportunities to engage, connect, and reach new audiences. An example is our shift to a hybrid online-offline coaching model, which we've found to be both fit for purpose and good value for money. So building on our existing best practices, we are now transforming our learnings on digital capacity building and integrating other connected digital platforms, such as our interactive crisis simulation platform. Today, we are launching the strategic communications and youth engagement and empowerment models modules on the UNOCT Connect and Learn platform. So I'm pleased to share a visual narrative of the global program on PCVE, highlighting what we aim to achieve with our learning offering on the UNOCT Learn and Connect platform. So over to the video.
Understanding your audiences and doing audience analysis is a very important part in developing your messaging and community engagement in general.
The way you need to communicate in a crisis situation is that crisis communication.
And that's how you balance having soft emotive messages with very strong messages that provide information and clarity and security for people.
I'm most proud of being able to start dialogue and create a change where young people are at the center of preventing violent extremism.
Thank you, Sian, again for this excellent presentation. And I would like now to turn to the last of the three examples we wanted to show you. Now turning more to the Connect pillar of our platform, as we are piloting the first community of practice forum on sports. It is my pleasure to introduce my dear colleague, Valerio De Divitis, who is the head of our program on sports, and he will showcase better how the community works. Thank you, Valerio, for joining us. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Mauro. Dear colleagues, ladies, gentlemen, while my presentation is being uploaded, let me start giving an overview of the multi-year program that UNOCT is complementing together with the UNICRI, which is the UN Interregional Crime Research Institute, the UN Alliance of Civilization, UNOCT, and ICSS, the International Center for Sport Security based in Qatar. So our multi-year program pursues its main objectives concern increasing member states' awareness of terrorism-related threats against major sporting events and their ability to prevent and counter terrorist acts. So major sporting events seen as vulnerable targets. So protecting these from terrorist-related threats. Another objective is promoting sport and its values to build resilience to violent extremism, especially among youth, so to counter terrorist ideologies through also supporting member states to integrate sport values-based initiatives within their national action plans and their strategies aiming at the prevention of violent extremism. So far, since the launch of the program in 2020, we already produced some products on how to protect major sporting events, so some guidance how to protect major sporting events from terrorist attack and how to adopt sport values-based initiatives within the National Action Plan for preventing violent extremism. But also, we are pleased to mention our initiatives in support of civil society organizations, so direct support to civil society organizations for implementing sport values-based initiatives and projects at the level of the communities through direct grants provided by our program in order to engage community through sports values for the prevention of violent extremism. And then a series of consultations with youth to make sure that any initiative also takes into due account what is the voice of youth for better and robust PVE policies and practices based on also on sport. I mentioned already our complementing partners, but our engagement with the private and public entities and sports federations such as the FIFA, the International Olympic Committee, UEFA, the Confederation of African Football, the International Council for Traditional Sports and Games, and the Indian Ocean Games are really, really making the difference and helping us to produce concrete achievements. But also coming closer to the subject of this event today, I'm also pleased to mention the establishment of a National Focal Points network within our sports program. So we set up two distinct communities for national level engagement with our programmatic activities, concerning both the security work streams of our program and then the PVE, the Prevention of Violent Extremism work stream of our program. As of today, we have about 90 member states who nominated national focal points following a call for proposal that we launched in December last year through the permanent missions of the member states to the UN. So talking about the security national focal points, these are typically representatives of ministries of internal affairs, intelligence, or public security and safety entities within institutions at national level, while the PVE national focal points typically are experts from the social affairs field, like ministries for social affairs, physical education, sports, and youth, and so on. So what do we expect from the national focal points? And actually, many of them are already concretely engaged through our Connect and Learn platform. So we expect the support and exchange of good practices, expertise, experiences across this network, and also to make sure that this can help and advise colleagues in their actions concerning both the security of major sporting events and the use of sports values for the prevention of violent extremism. So this indeed engagement is already bringing very positive results. If we think about the engagement of national focal points of Costa Rica, of Cameroon, of Maldives, with which we already established concrete technical engagement through capacity building assistance, but also now this is going to be even more robust because in addition to the community of experts part, very soon the sports program will launch its own e-training for better, for a more coherent and also a broader and robust capacity building offer to member states concerning both work streams of our program. So the security of major sporting events and the use of sports values for the prevention of violent extremism. So again, we are grateful not only to the national focal points who are already well engaged with us, but with a variety of entities, public and private entities, but also with the civil society organizations with which we have a very, very robust and substantive engagement. This I would thank to the technicians for making this event possible today and kindly ask to start the video that we prepared to give a broader overview about the program. Thank you.
The United Nations Global Program on Security of Major Sporting Events is the first program to pilot the Connect portion of the new UNOCT Connect and Learn platform. The Global Sports Program Forum is divided into two communities of experts, the PVE community and the security community. The PvE community will facilitate discussion on the role of sports in building tolerance and resilience among youth. The security community brings together experts and practitioners to share best practices and lessons learned on the protection of major sporting events from terrorism. These communities unite over 200 national focal points from 81 member states, creating a global community of experts and practitioners. UNOCT, along with its co-implementing partners, are committed to fostering these communities in a secure and sustainable online platform, uniting diverse experts dedicated to ensuring sport safety. The Global Sports Program would like to thank all program donors, the State of Qatar, the United Nations Peace and Development Fund, and the Republic of Korea for their generous support.
Thank you very much, Valerio, for this powerful demonstration on how the Connect part of our platform will work. Thank you once again. Let me now move to another very short video where you will see just a presentation of UNOCT programmatic work that is already or will be launched in connection to the platform. And we, of course, look forward to the growing of our platform with courses and more interactive community of practitioners sessions. Let me now ask the technicians to please put the video. Thank you. Thank you also to the technicians for the wonderful support. And you have seen just a an overview of many of the global or other programs that UNOCT has. You will find a lot of material on these programs already on the Connect and Learn platform, other training courses or presentation of the programs, links to important documentation. And as we speak, much more will be uploaded in the coming weeks, including, as I have indicated before, to boost the community of experts and practitioners side of the platform. I would like to remind everybody that we will take also questions that please can be addressed in the chat function of today's event. Let me now turn with greatest pleasure to Dr. Jahangir Khan, the director of the United Nations Counter-Terrorism Center, will be the moderator of the next portion of today's event, strengthening and focusing strongly on the partnership aspect and on the whole of society approach in countering terrorism and violent extremism. Thank you so much, Jahangir. Let me turn the screen to you.
Thank you, dear Mauro, for offering your kind introduction. And I'm also most honored to be here and to join you all to welcome you to this most exciting event. Excellencies, dear colleagues, distinguished guests, terrorism is obviously a threat that does not know borders and does not differentiate between stakeholders, which is why it is imperative that we work together and harness a whole of society approach from across the public sector, the private sector, civil society organizations, and academia to provide an effective and sustainable response to a rapidly growing and global threat. And I'd now like to introduce Mr. Graham Ellis, the former London Fire Brigade chief, who will provide insights on the importance of the Connect and Learn platform from the perspective of the public sector. Mr. Ellis, in your opinion, how will the platform benefit emergency services as they collaborate to train for response to and recovery from acts of terrorism? Over to you, Mr. Ellis.
Dr. Khan, thank you very much indeed. And good afternoon, Your Excellencies and distinguished guests this afternoon. If I may just say as well, it's a great pleasure to be here. My name is Graham Ellis. I did serve for 36 years in the emergency services in London. Dr. Khan promoted me. I never reached the dizzy rank of commissioner. I was assistant commissioner. And when I retired last year, I was in charge of Special Operations Group. I would say that during my 36 years of operational service, sadly, along with colleagues, I have responded far, far too many times to acts of terrorism on the streets of London. And I've got strong feelings, I would say, in terms of the future and how emergency services particularly can be best prepared. I believe that the response to acts of terrorism from the emergency services globally is always best when it is multi-agency. And when those emergency services have had the opportunity to work together and plan and respond together. I think we go far as back as the siren attack on the Tokyo subway as probably one of the very best ever examples of that, the importance of a collective, multi-agency, coordinated response. Commanders, as well as the operational responders who are extremely well versed at working together, and that is what saves lives. In terms of the platform, the Connect and Learn we're talking about today, I think all emergency services will always continue to benefit from high quality training. And across the spectrum for terrorism, that relates to, I would suggest, prevent agendas, as well as protect, and as well as prepare. Very much the focus for those emergency responders is prepare for a range of asymmetric terrorism threats. Emergency services responders, I would argue, must train and plan together in order to allow them to successfully respond to acts of terrorism and very, very importantly as well, I would suggest, recover, set about the early motion of recovery from no-notice acts of terrorism. So any online training portals such as being provided here will always be most welcomed. The Connect and Learn platform, I believe, will allow the emergency services globally to really importantly, I believe, share best practice. What is learnt perhaps on a street in New York or Washington is as applicable to a street on any other continent in the world for emergency services when it comes to responding to acts of terrorism. And it will also, the Connect and Learn platform, allow emergency services to access up-to-date training. We spoke before in one of our meetings about the importance of augmented reality video products, particularly for use amongst commander training, amongst the emergency services community. And I would argue, again, perhaps one of the strengths of the Connect and Learn platform is about allowing the sharing of best practice and training materials with some of those less resourced communities, should I say, throughout the world, where resources may not be what they are in other developed nations, but still those emergency responders potentially are faced with those same challenges. I believe that as the asymmetric terror threats continue to evolve, that the United Nations Connect and Learn platform arrives just at the right time. I would like to personally commend the United Nations teams who have developed this extremely important and vital tool. I believe that the Connect and Learn platform has the ability to make a significant contribution to saving lives. What could be more important? And also a significant contribution towards defeating the threat of terrorism to communities across all of our United Nations. I hope in that short response there I've managed to convey the importance of the platform for emergency services communities throughout all of the United Nations throughout the world. And again, a very big thank you for allowing me to speak today, and a very, very big thank you for everyone who's worked so hard to put this platform together. Thank you, Dr. Khan.
Well, thanks again, Mr. Ellis, for this very comprehensive and thoughtful response, especially in light of your very rich experience. And now I'd be most pleased if you could join us here today I'd like to also introduce a number of other distinguished guests, in particular, Ms. Ifat Barak-Cheni, who is the Director of the International Affairs and Human Rights World Jewish Congress, of the World Jewish Congress, as well as Mr. Hussein Khalid, who is the Executive Director of Haki Africa, as well as Ms. Robin Scott, who is a co-founder and CEO of Apolitical. They've all been invited to offer insights on the importance of the Connect and Learn platform from the perspective of civil society, which of course is most important. Thank you all for being here with us today. And I'd now like to first pose the question to Ms. Barak-Cheni from the World Jewish Congress. Ms. Barak-Cheni, in your opinion, what is the importance of the platform to enhance the inclusion of all relevant stakeholders in discussing trends in terrorism and the prevention and countering of violent extremism, and offering innovative responses, as well as sharing any good practices through the forum? Over to you.
Thank you very much, and thank you for this wonderful launch event and for giving me the honor to participate today. I want to note at the outset that the UN Office of Counter-Terrorism is really doing an exemplary job in involving civil society in its operations. And this event today is no different. UNSCT has really gone above and beyond to bring in the whole society approach. And the platform, as we've seen, is groundbreaking in integrating this approach into an online tool provided by the United Nations. I want to bring in a personal note. I've been in this international field for about 20 years. I know I look young, and the camera makes me look even younger. It's been over 20 years. And I've had the opportunity to see how this collaboration works from the military side, the government side, in the UN itself, and mostly from civil society. And the biggest challenges in collaboration have come from the side of the civil society as a civil society member. that's where your involvement on the one hand can really be a game changer to international or to local efforts, but you have to find your way in and you have to prove yourself constantly as a valued member. And just understanding who's who and who does what at the United Nations in such a field as counterterrorism and PCVs is a challenge, and it's tough. And it's also tough on the United Nations. And, you know, the organization is structured to work with member states, and, you know, that's a pretty reliable number of states with missions they can work with. And on the other hand, the number of NGOs granted ECOSOC status is massive, and civil society is, of course, not just NGOs, it's also smaller organizations, think tanks, and people who bring value without having a name. So how to engage with civil society and who to engage with without a very systematic approach and the dedicated resources at the operational level is truly a daunting task. So I applaud UNOCT for taking this into account when building a platform like the Connect and Learn platform. To have civil society be able to find information and resources no matter where you are and who you are is really the vision for the future. To be able to engage and connect with others in the field from different places, to learn and to teach. This is really the way to ensure organizations, big and small, are able to contribute and to bring their added value to counterterrorism and PCV efforts globally. And I represent the World Jewish Congress here today. We are the representative organization of the Jewish communities around the world. We were established in 1946, and since then, countering all forms of terrorism and the security of Jewish communities has really been one of our core issues. As a community deeply affected by terrorism for decades and centuries, our work spans all pillars of the UN strategy on counterterrorism, and we work on counterterrorism and PCV daily on the local, and the regional, and the global level. So we need the UN and the international community to be at the forefront of this fight and to support efforts as much as possible. So earlier this year during Counter-Terrorism Week, I made remarks and I said that the UN carries with it the ability to convene, to bring people together, to coordinate. I know that the views of civil society are important to consider, and that the UN and member states must ensure that they are taken into account when creating policies and strategies, and also on prevention and enforcement and implementation. And from what we've seen today, this platform really does just that. And I think it's a really enormous leap in connecting and communicating with civil society, and give us civil society the opportunity to connect and communicate and understand better all the tools available, and all the tools available to member states and to the United Nations and the international society. It tells civil society that we are valued partners, and it gives us opportunities to learn and engage. And so I'm really grateful and can't wait to be able to use it and to contribute to it and all the UN and member states' efforts. Thank you again.
Well, thank you so much, Ms. Bracchini, for your most insightful contribution. Now, one of the main objectives of this new platform is to enhance UNOCT's engagement with civil society. And so we look forward very much to continuing our collaboration with the World Jewish Congress, as well as, of course, more broadly with civil society organizations. Now I'd like to turn the floor over to our other distinguished guest, Mr. Hussein Khalid, who is the Executive Director of Haki Africa, to continue today's segment on insights from our diverse civil society representatives. Mr. Khalid, in your opinion, how does the platform enhance the inclusion of all relevant stakeholders in discussing trends in terrorism and the prevention of violent extremism, as well as offering innovative responses, as well as sharing and good practices through this forum? So over to you, sir.
Thank you very much. And let me begin, first of all, by congratulating the UNOCT for the launch of this very, very important platform that is going to change the way violent extremism and counterterrorism knowledge is shared across the continent in Africa, but also globally. As you know, we in Africa, allow me to speak from the third world perspective, and particularly the African continent, have been victims of terrorism for many years. We have various terror groups that are operating, from Al-Shabaab in Eastern Africa to Boko Haram in Western Africa, and elements of ISIS in Northern Africa. And with us, being one of the fastest growing use of technology in the world, we find this platform extremely important for exchanging critical views and opinions, but more importantly, knowledge that can be used in addressing terrorism and, of course, violent extremism. As a continent, of course, we view this platform as a safe space where we can go, we can engage as civil society practitioners with our governments and the international community to address the key issues that are pertinent in countering violent extremism and terrorism within our communities. Particularly, we are drawn to the approaches that are being adopted in the various segments of this platform. As you're aware, Africa continues to be, on the receiving end of terrorism and counter-terrorism initiatives at the same time. So we suffer both from terrorism and counter-terrorism. And mainly this is happening because of the various practices that various parts of the continent are experiencing. If you look at, for example, poverty is huge, and this is used, for example, by recruiters into violent extremism to hoodwink the public, particularly the youth, into their ranks. We also have quite a number of situations where bad governance is the order of the day, and that also contributes to the situation not being very useful for communities. Human rights violations have also been reported, as you are aware, in various parts of the continent and many third world countries. There are wars that are being fought, there are chaos issues here and there. Again, that breeds a fertile ground for terrorism to use this to attract youth into their ranks. So having this platform, understanding how other countries, particularly those that have succeeded in the war against terror, how they are approaching and addressing these issues becomes extremely critical for us in the third world countries and in Africa particularly, to understand how best to address our issues. And since we know that, in different parts of the world, the push and pull factors to violent extremism and terrorism vary from one region to another, this platform gives us an opportunity to understand how we can actually, work on our strategies so that they suit the local situation. And with that, we feel this platform will greatly enhance the fight against terror. More so, we have the practitioners, the community of practitioners who will be available at the disposal of local communities. This is something, again, for us in the third world, and particularly in Africa, that has remained, far off for us. Just accessing some of these experts in their different fields from where we are because of poverty and many other logistical reasons has been a nightmare. So this platform gives us that opportunity to be able to directly engage. From the modules that are there, we will be able to directly engage with our states, our governments. For example, Kenya today is a member of the Security Council, and we would love to know how best we can take advantage of that status to be able to influence how practices are undertaken in different parts of the world. So we are looking forward to engaging in this platform so that we can influence not just our state as a country, but also the regional, continental, and also at the international level. So this is a wonderful opportunity we see here, and we hope that by opening up the space, opening up the world to be able to engage in this platform, it will encourage states particularly to advance human rights, to advance good governance, and address the day-to-day challenges that the communities are faced with in Africa and third world countries. So it's an honor, and we really appreciate this opportunity. We look forward to engaging with it extensively, and we hope that we will be able to benefit from it as much as the rest of the world by using the technology that we have in Africa, the ever-growing access to it, and also learning more about the UNOCT and the United Nations in general. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Khalid, for your very lucid and detailed, and I may say so, insightful remarks, and particularly bringing the perspective of the South, developing countries, and in particular of Africa, which of course, unfortunately, bears the brunt of terrorism and violent extremism. We are most grateful that you could join us today and speak on behalf of Haki Africa. Now I'd like to turn the floor over to our next guest, distinguished guest, Ms. Robin Scott, who is the CEO of Apolitical, who will kindly conclude this portion on the perspectives from civil society. Ms. Scott, if I may ask, in your experience creating Apolitical, what have you learned about what it takes to make a public sector learning platform engaged, impactful, and sustainable? Over to you.
Thank you very much indeed, and it's a pleasure to be here. At Apolitical, we are passionate about the power of learning and collaboration in the public sector, so extremely excited to see what's being launched today. I thought I would set out 8 principles that we have found important in the 5 years or so we've spent building Apolitical. But before I do, let me just give a minute on what Apolitical is so you can understand the context to which I come from this. Apolitical is an online network and learning platform for government with a mission to build 21st century governments that work for people and for the planet. Right now, we're used by about 150,000 verified public servants and policymakers in more than 160 countries. And what we enable our members to do primarily falls into 2 buckets. The first is connecting and sharing ideas on our network. So we make it really easy to share best practice on common challenges, to answer questions, to ask questions. And then we have a catalog of courses that are focused on big 21st century challenges. So what we do across the whole spectrum of policy is actually quite similar to the solution of the platform you're launching today. So very much on board with the architecture and the approach. Now, in the course of building Apolitical, we have learned these following principles. The first is that learning in government needs to be social to be powerful. McKinsey has encapsulated the opportunity with an extraordinary figure they came out with in 2017, which is that if governments, and I mean governments in the widest sense, from local through to multilateral, if governments just did what was already working elsewhere in other cities and other countries, it would unlock $3.5 trillion a year in savings. So that really puts a spotlight on the absence of sharing and the low-hanging fruit that exist if we are to enable sharing and make it easier in the public sector, as we have seen it become easier in almost every other sector with such tremendous gains in efficiency and effectiveness. So it needs to be social, it needs to tap a network. The second principle is it needs to be practical and applied. So much best practice on government is too abstracted away from the principles that public servants working on solving problems need to be guided by. And that means, how do you actually apply things in the real world? And that's where the best intentions all fall down in the public sector. Good ideas aren't thought through in terms of their execution and implementation. So anything needs to always incorporate that implementation, delivery, execution component. The third is you need to celebrate what's already working. The media loves to criticize the public sector. We tend to hear so much about what isn't working, and you don't get best practice to be shared in an environment where we only talk about failures. That has a chilling effect. It has a siloing and narrowing and reducing effect. So we believe very powerfully that these communities need to call out the hidden heroes who are pioneering solutions in difficult circumstances. They need to acknowledge the challenges that the public sector faces. We once received a lovely note from one of our members of Policymaker in Canada who said, in an era of democratic recession, apolitical is like Prozac for depressed policymakers. And I think in the context of the specific issue everyone here is gathered around today, this is an incredibly hard field to work in. It's dangerous, it's difficult, and bringing celebration to that and showcasing the leaders, I think, is really important. The fourth principle is got to connect people across borders and silos. Some of the best insights are to be had when you connect adjacent or indeed totally different parts of the world or organizations or approaches. And this has come up already today in the fact that, there's plenty to learn between one city in the north and another city in the south, one city in the west, another in the east. So we need to break down these barriers. The fifth is these platforms need to cater to a reactive workforce. Things are changing so quickly, and public servants so often are forced, because they're responding to a new situation or they are reacting to a political window that might emerge, enabling a project to be fast-tracked. And learning platforms and networks need to respond to that situation where a person is thrown into a new challenge and they need to quickly assimilate a lot of knowledge or form a new community and understand a space through a network. The sixth principle is that it is hard. There are so many dormant online platforms in every sector, but especially in government. And that means that there's got to be ongoing work at making participation really easy and really rewarding for people. People are so distracted and so busy, particularly in the public sector, that any engagement comes at the cost of something else. So one has to think about rewards, making it easy and delightful, which relates to my seventh principle, which is to remember that we live in the 21st century. I think public sector platforms have often suffered from not raising their standards to the standards of social networks and platforms that we have on our phones that we expect in our private lives. From what I've seen today, I think this platform is definitely not falling into that trap, but it is so important to remember that we're competing. If this platform is on someone's smartphone, they've also got 100 other apps on that smartphone, and it needs to be able to compete with those. And the eighth and final principle is partnerships. And it relates to breaking down borders and silos. So we have partnered so much in the course of growing apolitical with organizations like the World Economic Forum, with governments and government networks, with networks of best practice, communities of practice. And I think there are opportunities always for that. And I will just end by saying we would welcome partnership with a network like this. We would welcome the opportunity to share the learnings you're experiencing and the stories of heroes with our wider network of public servants all over the world.
Well, thank you so much, Ms. Scott, for offering such an informative and insightful response. Particularly the 8 principles, which I think are really well articulated. And I particularly like the last point you made about partnerships and reaching out. And certainly you can count on the partnership of our office, the United Nations Office of Counter-Terrorism. So thank you again. Next, I'd like to introduce to you Mr. Gary Fowler, who is a founder and CEO of GSD Venture Studies, and he is here, studios I should say, forgive me, GSD Venture Studios, and he's here to talk to us about the importance of the Connect and Learn platform from the perspective of the private sector. Mr. Fowler, in your opinion, if I may ask, what impact will this collaborative online learning platform have on our respective member states? Over to you, sir.
Sure, absolutely. Let me just say a couple words. So, I've been in technology for 35 years. I've done 17 startups and involved in $2 billion companies. And they've been from Israel that we brought to the US, Russian companies. I'm the co-founder of a company, came from Russia. I studied in Russia. I have Greek and Egyptian grandparents. So I feel like the United Nations myself. Knowledge is power. The challenge that we all have here today is what I call infobesity. Think about this. There's 49 zettabytes of data on the planet Earth today. If you took DVDs or CDs, one on top of another, it would go 35 times between the Earth and the Moon. And it's increasing at 68% per year. How in the world can make sense of it? So using a tool, a Connect and Can Learn tool, that'll help us to be able to share and collaborate and to be able to understand what's happening, to democratize opportunities. Because what I'm hearing today is, these are about democratizing the opportunities. Hussein, one of the things you said about Africa, you talked to me about Africa. We work deeply in Africa. We have a presence in 38 countries. I create unicorns. We have 5 companies in Africa. Look at what's happening in Nigeria. 206 million people. Flutterwave, a $500 million company. Billion-dollar company. Patricia, $500 million company. 5 of our companies, female-led companies, male-led companies, but they need to have a chance. Jobs, technology, and peace, right? So if we use technology, why do a lot of people have challenges today? It's because they don't have the right jobs. So if we go in, we're in all over 38 countries today, including Russia, Ukraine, Belarus. If we go in and create jobs where they can feed their families. So what I'm saying is there's another pillar. I think sports are fantastic. I think the ideas that you put together are incredible. But I'm a country boy. I grew up on a farm in Pennsylvania. I keep things real simple, seriously. And this is not my background. That's a virtual background. I couldn't find anything that was like me. I'm a simple country boy. But you have a chance to change the world. Each and every one of us here, because data is the power. Knowledge is a power. So you're right about creating these teams, intergenerational, culturally diverse, decentralized teams. That's what the United Nations is all about, right? You've got it right in your hands today. In a couple of weeks, I'll be keynoting in Egypt. Next week, I'll be in Czechoslovakia, Czech Republic, not Czechoslovakia, the Czech Republic speaking. You all have the opportunity. Now we got to do is we just got to grab it. I see the dreams. I worked in Russia. I started the first accelerator in Moscow. That's Skolkovo. So I know a little bit about it. I studied at Moscow State University. Again, I'm a country boy. Wasn't the best guy in the class. But what I did learn is that if we create jobs, we can help defeat terrorism because people just want to feed their families. And I'm right here. It's my partner and I use our own money to be able to go out to these areas, to be able to help. If we all took a little bit of money out of our pockets, right, the UN's pocket, and focus on not an entitlement, but creating incredible companies. Because look at the challenge we have. By 2050, we're going to have to double the food supply on the planet to be able to feed the people. But we can't increase the number of livestock because 26% of the pollution today is created by livestock. But the population of the planet will go from 8.1 billion to 13 billion by the end of the century. Think about it. Global warming. We all have a chance to be able to do it. We just got to engage people. So I love the platform because it's about engagement, isn't it? It's about how do we bring people together to make a dent in the universe, as Steve Jobs says, how to change the world. But what we got to do is figure out other ways, other pillars that can help too. I think what you're doing is fantastic. I love it. It's about, when we talk about artificial intelligence, AI is the new electricity. We can't think about all of us here today that are on the panel. In the last 3 weeks, how many times have you said to yourself, did you get my message? I don't know. Which email address did you send? I sent it to your Gmail address. Let me check. I can't find it. Can you send it again? We all have the challenge, right? Again, we're addressing this issue of infobesity. So, and then now the information in your own personal cloud doubles every year. Today, you have about 300,000 items. In 5 years with IoT, you have 10 million. How in the world? We have some of the smartest people in the world on the event today. Can we make sense of the data? These tools, these collaborative tools that are AI enhanced are going to help us. There are a lot of bad, nefarious actors out there, but I believe if we create some good jobs and we help, and I'm not saying this, I'm taking my money and I'm doing it today. So I can tell you it can be done because we've created billion-dollar companies. Each one of us could do that too. And we did an Israeli company. We brought it from Haifa over to the U.S., Click Software. The company was sold for $1.35 billion. Now, I was only part of the management team, but I was one of the instrumental persons on the team. We can each do the same thing. So let's work together. I'm sorry, Hussein, you fired me up because I love working in Africa. I love working in India. I love working in Europe. But we can all make a difference. In fact, we'll be there in a couple of weeks again.
Thank you so much. This is so riveting and inspiring, particularly your personal experience and the entrepreneurship that you bring to this perspective. And I think, it's precisely the purpose of this platform is for us to be creative, to be innovative, and really harness the kind of experience that you have actually already implemented around the world, and particularly in the developing countries. So thank you so much. I think this is exactly what we need to hear in terms of how we develop and apply this platform. And we very much look forward to engaging you, sir, and of course the broader private sector, because I think we as the UN have much to learn from you. So thank you again.
We're ready, willing, and able. So all you have to do is, I'm ready to do it tomorrow. All you have to do is give us a call and we're there.
How about today? Let's move forward. Thank you so much.
The name of my company is Get Stuff Done. That's what GSD stands for. So I know exactly what you mean.
All right. Great. Super. Fantastic.
Thank you.
Now, let's now like to, with your permission, move on to our next guest, Dr. Christina Shori Liang, who is in fact the head of terrorism and PVE at the Geneva Center for Security Policy, who will be speaking with us today about the Connect and Learn platform from the perspective of academia. So, Dr. Liang, thank you again for joining us. In your opinion, what is the critical role of online learning in expanding access to education, and in particular, its emphasis on the importance in the context of COVID-19, the COVID-19 pandemic? Over to you. Can you hear me? Hello? Yes,
Dr.
we can hear you. Go ahead. Yes, go ahead. Go ahead.
It's a privilege to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me, and it's nice to see old friends and new friends on this panel. At the GCSP, we design courses on preventing violent extremism, looking at the most important objectives of our PVE courses is to really build a greater understanding of the latest manifestations of terror, but also to help countries to design national action plans. We are very thrilled about this new platform because one of the most important things that we do at the GCSP is try to build a global community of actors and practitioners in the field of PVE. So we hope now that we can take this a step further and elevate your platform by even sharing our best lessons and also our community of stakeholders so that we can create even a greater like-minded community of stakeholders. But COVID-19 has really been a game changer in education. And as we have seen, at 1.94% of all school children have been affected and have been out of school. And youth have become now more vulnerable to the siren song of extremism and their messaging, both in the real world and the virtual world. So it's really important that online learning is happening. It also protects teachers and staff at schools. But it also has created a huge democratization of knowledge. More people now have more access to knowledge than ever before. And some of the greatest minds now are online in webinars and conferences that are free and open to the world. So all those that are lucky enough to have Wi-Fi can now dial into these new learning mechanisms. And of course, it's also good for the environment, because we've learned that with online digital learning, there's less carbon emissions, less traveling. And as we've learned, climate change is a threat multiplier that can worsen existing social vulnerabilities. So online learning is a way to not only democratize the world, sustain the world in greater learning, but also to prevent extremism and terrorism by giving more knowledge. You have less disinformation. As we've seen, there's more disinformation in the world, so more knowledge can help quell disinformation campaigns and conspiracy theories. So I really congratulate you on this brilliant and valuable new tool on Connect and Learn. We are thrilled at the Geneva Center for Security Policy, and we will try to do everything to help promote this new platform, launching it into our community of PBE actors around the world that we've created in the last 10 years with our PBE courses. So thank you so much, and thank you for having me today on this valuable launch.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Liang, for offering your perspective. And, you know, our engagement with the academia community, and certainly very distinguished and excellent centers such as the Geneva Center are going to very much enrich the platform. So we look very much forward to your contribution and our engagement with you. So thank you again. I'd now like to take the opportunity to offer my sincere gratitude, actually, to all the speakers who have just taken the floor and have contributed your very different perspectives. Each of you and each speaker has provided us with a very unique perspective from your respective points of view, and brought with you invaluable insights from the perspective of what we call the all of society approach. And we are most grateful that you could be here with us today. I'd now like to turn the screen back to my dear colleague, Mr. Mauro Medico, who will moderate the Q.
Thank you very much. Jangir, I think you were frozen, but I heard until you turned the floor to me.
If colleagues would like to put their questions or comments in the chat box, that would be most helpful. I guess will support your work as a moderator. So back to you.
Thank you very much, Jangir. And indeed, we have received a lot of questions. And given the time constraints, I will try to just pick and choose some of them. Let me start straightforward with some questions for Gary, for Hussein. You have generated a lot of discussions. So let me read a couple for you. Gary, you mentioned that creating intergenerational teams will benefit our ability to counter terrorism. And how do you see those teams functioning through this platform? What will be your recommendation? And something linked to that, particularly for Hussein, how do you think civil society organizations can actually benefit from the platform for engagement with private sectors such as Gary and other representatives, or academia, such as we just heard from Christina? What will be your recommendations for the platform?
Yes.
For Gary, yes, please.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. Well, I mean, this is, again, it's a keep us simple stupid from my standpoint. What we want to do is we look at intergenerational. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Yeah, so appreciate that. What I said is that we want to have the intergenerational teams because we need people with experience, people that have done it before. But at the same time, we want the technologists that understand how the technology works, understand how it can be implemented, understand how to deploy it. So when I'm saying that, experience. At the same time, culturally diverse. We want people from all over the world involved because we need a 360-degree view. It's critically important. And then when I say regionally diverse, I say that because you may have developers that are in some specific area where they have a specific expertise to be able to help. So let's create these teams that can really get the job done. And let's not have an experience and some gray hair doesn't mean that you don't have the ability to be able to get it done. It means you can dramatically impact the process.
Thank you very much, Gary. Let me turn to Hussein.
Indeed, thank you very much. And the question is very, very relevant. How do we as civil society benefit using this platform from private sector, academia, and others? From the community of practice, it's clear that we have a lot to learn from each other. In many occasions, as civil society, we operate within ourselves and, we preach to the converted. But just from this one event, for example, just this launch, I've had, how you can actually use technology to create opportunities. From Gary, we've learned how GCSP are working in terms of developing useful modules that can be applied in preventing and countering violent extremism. And for the fact is that, for us to be able to defeat terrorism, for us to be able to prevent violent extremism, we need to work together. No single entity can actually operate on its own and be able to defeat terrorism. And this is why this platform becomes extremely important. I'm in the civil society sector. We have Gary in the private sector. We have others in academia and Robin and others. How do we put our minds together so that we can come up with those useful experiences and practices that we can apply for a continent like Africa, for example, and in the developing world? We need this kind of exposure. We need to learn how a simple gentleman from the Midlands in the United States has been able to create a global entity of even 38 countries. How can we apply similar experiences in Africa, for example, so that we can create those job opportunities and be able to alleviate poverty from our communities? So I think this platform is extremely important. It will help us connect with different experts in different fields. And for me, that diversity will help us move forward and defeat terrorism, in its tracks.
Thank you so much, Hussein. A question quickly turning to Graham. UNOCT had a major event on augmented reality and partnership on that area. That was just in early July this year. How do you think the use of augmented reality training through the platform can be of support to emergency responses services such as the one you were working on, the fire brigade? Graham, back to you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dave, for that question. I think one of the powerful elements of augmented reality video for commander training relates really to you can kind of transfer the background environment, the 3D photogrammetry modeling that the experts apply. Certain places are, dare I say it, they're not necessarily unique. A shopping centre can be a shopping centre no matter which continent it's on. Likewise, a transportation infrastructure, transport hub is the same, really, the challenges. I think the backdrops can be applied no matter what town, what city, what continent that is. What's important, perhaps, is the nature of the challenge, the nature of the terrorism threat. And really importantly, it's that collective piece again about how emergency service commanders approach the challenges, how they assess what the threats are, and then move forward rapidly to save savable life. I think when you see some of these products and how quickly and effectively they can be put together, the fact that backdrops look like people's own backyard, as it were, their town or their city, it really brings something to those training interventions when that's the case. And again, it's very much a case of sharing best practice, what works, what doesn't work. And the platform is an ideal place, I think, to share those that kind of best practice. Hope that answers the question.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Graham. Quick question to Robin. You noted that maintaining platform engagement is actually a challenge. So what could be your recommendations for us when we launch the platform today, of course, there's a lot of interest, but how can we secure continued engagement by all of the partners and sustained collaboration across the platform from your experience?
Well, requires a whole set of interventions, but I'll just pick on a couple that I think are really important. The first relates to one of the principles I gave, which is to celebrate what's working. If you are posting or have community managers posting about people and the good work they're doing, everyone likes to be recognized and everyone likes to see who amongst their peers are being recognized. So that's just a simple behavioral science, but it's pretty important. The other thing I think is really important is to identify leaders in the community who are particularly connected, particularly passionate, and who are ambassadors for the work, for the platform. Those people will perform orders of magnitude more service to this work, to the engagement and contributions that anyone else performs. We sort of default to thinking about communities as in a linear way, that you've got a line like this in terms of increasing engagement, but really what you have is a step change. You have a lot of people doing almost nothing, and then a few people doing so much and participating so much. And it's really important to support and reward those people because they will keep your community alive.
Thank you so much, Robin. Absolutely, very important. And let me turn to Efat. Quick question. It was also to me, the question is, how can civil society and other organizations contribute to the training offered by this platform? And can they facilitate even training using the UNOCT platform? The answer is yes, absolutely. That is for civil society organization as well. This is a platform that we want to be as inclusive as possible. So the question for you, Efat, is what kind of information learning modules you could eventually possibly contribute, because you have enormous experience, as we have seen during the Counter-Terrorism week. Some insights on that, please.
Thank you. So definitely, yes, the first part of the question is about having, the platform enable this, which it definitely does. And I want to say one more thing for any civil society members and organizations viewing this, is that don't be afraid to approach it. I think a lot of people, especially when it comes to UN and member states, need the access. And I have to say the UNOCT staff and principals are really accessible and really eager to work with civil society. So don't be afraid to approach and to offer what you have, and know that you have what to offer to this platform, to member states, and to anybody else. So that's number one thing, is just don't be scared and go ahead and start. I think we do a lot of work on things like crisis management and security, and then and enforcement legislation, and of course, from just our experience, a lot on attempts on prevention. And in all these fields, organizations and communities and civil society members, that deal with this on a daily basis and are really affected. Heike spoke about organizations in Africa and around the world. Truly, we work a lot with Latin America and many other countries around Europe, and unfortunately, in the US and closer to my home these days, can really offer the experience of both how to work before and after terrorist attacks, and how to work together with government, with law enforcement, and then with the communities, and how to bring communities back together, and how to bring communities and victims back together after such attacks occur, which I think is something really important that civil society can bring together.
Thank you very, very much. I have many other questions, but unfortunately the time is limited and we have to conclude. I will just myself try to very shortly respond to two questions. A, what languages are the training available in? We have now English, Russian, Arabic, several modules, and the more we go, the more languages will be added, because many of these modules are actually being produced So the idea is to cover the 6 UN languages for reaching out as many people as possible. Would the community be password protected, or would you have access to world public? Yes, as I mentioned, we will have both training sessions that can be open to everybody, institutions, individuals who can simply just download and follow the pace of the self-training. Others which are more content sensitive, that will be password protected. So UNOCT will actually be in charge of granting accesses. Similarly for the platform, there are mechanisms, the communities as the one on spot that we have seen that went through even a formal process of asking member states and governments to designate official focal points. And we have now 200 people from 90 countries, as we just heard earlier today. In other cases, we will simply connect as many people as possible. And that's particularly the beauty of having engagement with civil society, with private sector, with academia. That's the part we want to be as open as possible. Many other questions, we will try to respond through email and send the responses to all of you. From what you just said, Rifat, now there's a lot of work for us to do to engage more and more, and that will fall on the shoulders of our dearest Chief of Partnership Section, Ms. Laila Ezarki, who is here with us, and she has been the engine with many of our colleagues, Valerio and all Laila's team, to produce the platform and to now keep it functioning. And as your recommendation to reach out is well taken, and we will need to be very proactive in bringing all these collaborative efforts into the platform. So from my side, a big thank you. I would like now to turn again to Dr. Khan for some just short words of closing. And from my side, thank you so much to all of you, to experts and all those who have participated. And again, thanks to the UN International Computing Center for their tremendous help in developing the platform. Thank you, and back to you, dear Diane.
Thank you so much, Mauro. So dear colleagues, dear friends, we've come to the concluding segment of this this meeting. And I'd like to just again extend our very sincere gratitude to all the speakers and participants for really taking the time to be here with us today and for offering very valuable, not only insights, but also encouragement and support. And we will very much need that as we go forward, particularly in building the partnerships that are essential in order to ensure the success of this new platform. And so, dear friends, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, I should say that it's been a great honor to host this launch event for the UNOCT Connect and Learn platform. And I'd like to extend my utmost gratitude to our expert speakers and the very enthusiastic audience for your valuable contributions to support and keen participation today. We very much look forward to continuing our office's engagement with various stakeholders across all sectors of society, particularly as we've already heard from civil society, from academia, from the private sector, and beyond. And as we further develop and expand this platform, the Connect and Learn platform. And so today's inaugural event was only the very beginning of what we hope will become an expanded version of our innovative platform as the new business model to complement our in-person delivery of our capacity building work post-COVID. So once again, thanks to all of you. Wish you a wonderful afternoon and weekend ahead. Please stay safe, and all the very, very best to all of you. Today's event is adjourned. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye, everybody.
All right.